friends, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen, the Family Connection podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Samantha Hayes, educator, parent, and founder of Beyond the Screen Families. And today we have a special guest with us, Chelsea. She's a mom, an entrepreneur, a disability author, and a speaker, all of those things. And last summer, Chelsea and her family went completely screen free. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thanks so much for having me, Samantha. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so good to have you here, and I can't wait for everyone else to hear a little bit about your screen-free adventure, and really understand more of like the why and the how and the what behind all of it. Okay, so you tried something big last summer. You went completely screen-free. What inspired you to do that? Because that's a big shift.
Yeah, it's a very big shift. And to give it some context, I actually do some work with social media, and my husband owns an ad agency. He does a lot of graphic design. So screens are a natural part of our actual life, our income, all of those things. But we did this out of complete necessity because we were all on edge. Behaviors were declining. I felt like I couldn't accomplish a single task without someone gravitating towards a screen or needing that in order to accomplish anything. And I hated that feeling, hated feeling like the screen had to be the babysitter in order for me to accomplish what I wanted to do. And we were seeing a lot of meltdowns, irritability, fragmented attention. But my kids are really young. And what happened was, as my husband and I analyzed the situation, we realized this is no one's fault but our own. We have to set the example, and if we want to change, then this is going to be our doing. We made the mess, now we have to clean it up. So it was recognizing the necessity of removing them from our kids' lives because they couldn't control their actions and their behaviors and their attitudes while they were present. And we needed to pull them away in order to teach them how to coexist with these things. So at the beginning, it wasn't, oh, let's go screen free. It was, let's teach them how to manage that. But what we realized is that they were still too young to really even handle that. And we accidentally went 60 days screen free.
Accidentally. And what ages are your kids? So people have that frame of reference, because you're saying something that I think is important, is that you as the parent like really needed to dive in and take control of the situation because your kids were too young to be able to do that themselves.
My daughter's 9 and my son is 4. But my daughter is also, she has a rare genetic disease and she's on the spectrum.
Mhm.
So we see things with her and screens that are not typical of the average child. And those were also being modeled to our 4-year-old. That's the only example he has. So he was adopting the behaviors that he was seeing. So they are 9 and 4, but it's a somewhat complicated or atypical situation at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So you started this and you said accidentally, but you had conversations with your husband, you're like realizing things. Um, when you decided to kind of do this, although it happened by accident, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about that accident piece too, but what were your expectations?
Great question. So when we first started doing this, it was let's keep our family movie night, a Friday night movie night. During that first week, we realized the kids just needed a lot more time. So it continued and we saw things improving slowly, sometimes reverting. There's a lot of try, fail, and adjust in there. But we decided that we just needed to keep it going. So it became an accidental 60 days that somewhere around like the 10-day mark, we decided it's going to be all summer because I think that's really what they need and what we need. Our expectations were that at the beginning, it was going to be very hard and to prepare for that. But I am a big believer that when you go through a challenge, there will be a seed of equal or greater benefit on the other side if you don't give up. I also think it has a lot to do with your mindset. It's not just as simple as saying that. But I knew on the other side of this that our kids would be more regulated. They would have improved behavior, attention spans, more independent creative play. I wanted to see a deeper connection between them. I wanted to see them overcoming hurdles that we had challenged us with. Like my daughter has had a real struggle with reading, and a lot of that is because she'd get frustrated very quickly. And I started realizing through this experiment that her frustrations were becoming less and less. She was becoming more regulated. So I started to expect that by the end of the summer, maybe we could try reading again. And long story short, yeah, she's reading now and she's doing great in a subject she would just literally throw books at the wall at before. So I just wanted to see a deeper connection and more regulated behavior. And
Mhm.
in all the research that I did, it made sense that that would happen even though we were experiencing a different dynamic, especially with her.
Mhm.
There's a really good book called The Tech Exit. I don't remember the author right now, but my friend Diane interviewed her on Minimalist Moms podcast. And I heard that interview, and I believe Ginny Urich may have interviewed her as well on Thousand Hours Outside. But that book was life-changing because it really helps you understand from the perspective of someone who works in tech what we're dealing with and what we are just handing over to children whose brains are not developed. You see adults with addictions to screens. Imagine what this is doing to a child whose hemispheres are hardly even connected yet. And emotion and reason, just there is no bridge there. That bridge that's being built is whatever we tell them. It's how we show them how to handle things, is how emotion and reason eventually start to make those connections. And they are able to evaluate situations, build off of them, try, fail, adjust, make better decisions. And technology is such a big part of our world that most of us don't think, or maybe we know the damage that can be done, but we don't stop and really process it. We just hand it over. And you and I were just talking about this. This was never a part of our childhood.
Yes, yes,
So our kids are experiencing this and being raised by a generation that never went through this. We're
yes.
all kind of an experiment together. So my expectations again were just to see that we could improve those things and all learn through this because we're going through it for the first time ever
Mhm.
as a family.
Hmm. And you brought up so many things in that, like one little response that I'm like, oh, which one do I hit on? The first I'd like to talk about though is the your daughter and that persistence almost like with reading and you noticing such a big difference. I talk about it a lot. Like screens are easy. They're easy. So our brain doesn't learn how to persist. It doesn't learn how to like push through the challenges and all of those things. And so when we give it to kids, like we're training their brain not to persist. But we know in life, you have to persist. Like life is not going to be easy, unfortunately. Like there is no easy button to life. And so, like, if we're not helping our kids learn how to persist, like, how are they going to thrive? Like, how is that going to happen?
Completely agree. Yeah, the technology is not really, I learned this. And again, these are things I never thought of in my 40 something years of life until we went through an experiment together.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
technology is not neutral. It's
mm-hmm.
intentionally engineered to capture and hold our attention. And when you have a child's developing brain, the research shows that the excessive screen exposure is linked to attention dysregulation, mood
Yes.
swings, decreasing frustration tolerance, like you just said. And it's especially hard in children under the age of 7 or a child on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Have you read Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation?
Parts of it, that's
Okay.
okay. So
You,
through this whole thing, I have put down so many books, listened to parts of things, listened to podcasts, because I'm so much more hands-on with my kids than I ever have been. And I'm realizing how much of me and my presence they need. So I'm halfway through that one.
okay. Okay. No,
Good read.
I get it. I get it. It takes me a long time to read because there are so many other things I'm involved in. So I get it, but it's good and it will reinforce what you are saying too, like and give you lots of research. But um okay. So you said you initially kept the movie night. Um how do you define screen free? Like your summer, when you look at the summer, what did screen free mean for you? Is it screens are completely gone, or there still was always that movie night that was there? What did it look like?
Initially, I defined it as zero screens, period, but I actually quickly realized that a lot of it was out of my control
Mm-hmm.
because we were actually in church of all places one day and in Sunday school, and they're showing clips of this Bible story. And I was like, oh, well, I can't just pull her out of here. She is going
Mm-hmm.
to sit and she's going to be watching this for the next 15, 20 minutes. That's screen time.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make a decision in that moment. Do I get very rigid and close fists around this project experiment that we're doing and tell everyone in the world no screens around my kids? I'm not expecting the entire Sunday school, which is a collection of probably 100 kids. I'm not telling them to not show screens
Right.
anymore, you know. So we decided there would be no screens in our house. And then we decided that we would ask close friends and family who we knew would be on board with this if they would respect those wishes. And when we were in their house, if we could keep screens off. Everybody jumped on board. I'll say my parents were the biggest fans of it. I mean, we grew up without screens. We had like PBS on a good day and it
Yeah.
came in. But that was not an issue with them. Even with certain family members that I thought they're going to want to have the news on or sports or whatever, it was never an issue. So screen free became whatever we could control in our circle. And if they
Mm-hmm.
got exposed, they got exposed. But most of the time, if they did, my kids just didn't care anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you're helping them to learn the balance along with this, right? You're helping to take away the power of the screen that I mean, when we're on it all the time and our brain is connected to it, it's like an addiction.
One of the
Yes.
questions that we got over the summer was, is this no TVs, no
Mm,
shows, or doing straight no technology? And it was a little different in our house because we're actually renting right now. It was supposed to be very short-term rents. We never brought the TV in. We've stayed longer, and so we do have iPads in the house, but still no TV. And I like that I can put the iPads away. The kids don't see them, but they are, I think, a lot more addicting. So it was no screens, no iPads, no phones, no laptops. And we quickly realized that we actually needed, my husband and I needed to keep those out of the kids' view as much as possible as well, because we're a living example. How can I tell them, you can't have this, but I can?
yeah. Yes.
Don't understand that.
Nope. Nope. That's such a good point. My daughter yesterday was saying to me, I said, okay, because we were going to go for a bike ride. And I said, let mommy needs to take care of one thing before we go for the bike ride. And she said, you talk about screen free. Shouldn't you be screen free? And I said, well, it's for work. And if you'd rather, I can go up to my computer. So you see that it's not my phone, right? Like I was like, maybe that'll help you understand. Like I'm not just, and so then we had this long conversation about the difference between sitting scrolling versus doing something where you're creating and constructing and like how those are different for your brain and all of this. I mean, it ended up diving into this big conversation, but and then I was like, okay, for the rest of the day, my phone just needs to go away because
Yeah.
they don't understand the difference.
Yeah, they really don't. That we experience a lot of that. And it's very eye-opening.
It
It's
is.
really, really eye-opening because I would have my phone on me all the time to document or take pictures with. The one thing I wish that I had gone back and done is actually gotten my camera out. And for
Mm-hmm,
some reason, I have a very nice camera and I just never did.
mm-hmm.
It's bulky and weighty and like I didn't really want to carry it around. But now I see a lot of people that have much easier, lighter solutions to that. I think they call them camp cameras. And
I need to look into
that
that.
I think is an excellent idea.
Yeah.
because it's digital, but there's no screen right there.
Yeah.
And that would have been a great way to also experiment with photography with the kids while keeping my phone out of my presence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it reminds me of also like the brick phones. I don't know if you've seen those that like so you can have a phone, you can still make phone calls, but it's not because I say all the time, like, I wish I could throw this phone away. I wish we could go back to the 80s and 90s when I didn't carry a phone around with me with all the time. Like it just wasn't a part of living, you know? Like so you went as screen free as possible, right? With your village to like support you and people jumping on board with that. What did a typical day look like for you? And because I know you get this question a lot, what replaced the screens? Because there's a lot of boredom that happens in there.
Yes, there is. Well, at the beginning, this is the summer, so it's easy to just go outside. And we are big fans of 1,000 hours outdoors or
Uh-huh.
outside. And so we were tracking all those hours. And I was going back through some of my notes on what did we do at the very beginning? And my notes say June 2nd. It's been 3 days since we told them that all the screens in the house went to the fix-it shop. And here's how it's going. Day one, one kid ditched training wheels and learned to ride her bike within hours. We've been working on that for like a year. Um, she started playing bike shop. We gave her a toolbox. Actually, she took it out herself. She climbed a shelf, got tools, and started taking her bike apart and took the training wheels off herself, taught herself how to ride, and then decided to play bike shop, where she got all the bikes together. And she and her brother sat for hours
Mhm.
and took apart bikes and put them back together incorrectly, but they were having a great time. They asked for iPads several times. They were pretty whiny. They fought a lot, but we got 5 hours outside. Day two, they played bike shop, 7 hours outside, asked for the iPad once. Day three, 7 hours outdoors with friends. Minor argument, asked for iPads once. They fell asleep holding hands after reading a pile of books in bed. And my last note was just like, is this real life? Now, it did go south after that. But the key for us was a lot of outdoor time.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic book called Playborhood. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I will now.
Oh my gosh. Um, so he was, it's a, I can't remember the author's name, but he lived in California and he wanted to create the spot in the neighborhood where the kids came to play because he also wanted his kids just outdoors playing. And he realized that unless it was like in the front where other parents could see, then no one was going to come and just hang out in their backyard. So he created the fun place in the front yard and like all the sports things and like riding bikes. He even had a chalk map of the whole neighborhood. So like kids could come and build Legos, like they'd build a Lego house of their house, like on their
That's
land.
awesome.
It was so he covers so many different creative ideas, and there's no phones allowed. Kids weren't allowed to call their friend. They had to like ride down the street, knock on a door. They had all
Mhm.
these rules to the neighborhood, and like the neighborhood really got on board with the whole thing. So we're in this unique living situation. We're in an apartment. We'd sold our house. It's not really safe for me to just let the kids go outside. There's too much traffic, even though we're in a quieter area. But one thing we do have is our garage backs up to a really big, quiet parking lot, surrounded by a circle of other houses and lots of families and lots of little kids. And I thought, what if? What if we took our car out of the garage? And we've got all of these things in storage. Why don't I bring in a table, rugs? Like, I'll set up a creative place where the kids can hang out. So even on rainy days, like they can come in.
Mhm.
And so we've got a little library nook. We had shelves covered in craft and art supplies. All the sports equipment was out, all the bikes always ready. And if the door was up, it was basically like, hey, we're open for business, we're open for play. And all summer long, the kids made friends
Mhm.
and it felt like the party kind of never ended. My daughter wanted her birthday party to be a parking lot bike party.
I love it.
All the kids and friends of ours from other places, they all showed up with bikes and we got pizza and they just like biked around. It was great. And at the end of the summer, We even had a wall, a gallery wall of art created by my kids and the neighborhood kids, and they all had little like plaques next to them with the name of their art piece and their name there and everything. And I have an art background, so it was a fun way for me to kind of incorporate that with them and teach some classes here and there. But we just created our own playborhood. Whatever worked for us, I was determined that this was how we were going to, if we could just get outside and make it fun, it was going to be so much easier. Now, the inside of the house was complete chaos, and that was a whole nother story and something else to deal with, but it was just so worth it.
Yeah, the outside time, it's amazing. Like when you take away the screens and you're like how much outside time can become such a rich gold mine for play and like imagination and all of the things that I think are getting stunted because of screens, right? Like all of the things that screens do, they stunt all of those like curiosity, creativity, like all of that. And if we just get kids outside, like your daughter developed her little bike shop, not because you told her like, oh, go develop this bike shop. You know what I mean? Like her mind just was like, I wonder if I go do this, like what will happen because of it. So you also said, so it got easier, but then it took a turn. Can you talk more about that turn and what happened and like, yeah, what your family did with that?
It always seemed to happen on rainy days or on days where they just weren't feeling their best. And in my notes from those days, it says, "Can we survive a sick day without a movie?" And just piles of books and drawings and naps. And my notes literally end there and then say, "We did it." So I don't exactly remember how we did it, but we
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. It is you make the decision and you follow through. And that's part of the example for our kids too, is not giving in just because they keep asking and whining. I think it's so easy to be like, oh, I just need to get something done. I need to do the dishes, the laundry, I need to do this work. I'll just give it to them for a little bit. But is it worth it? And maybe sometimes it is. We are in a phase of life now where sometimes it is earned. But most of the time, it's actually not a great example for me to give in. It's teaching them that their whining gives them what they want.
Yes.
And I don't even think they really want the screen. I think that they just are working through boredom.
Mhm.
And boredom brings about some of the best creativity. It elicits so much imagination. Without it, we like things wouldn't be invented. And I don't want to rob my kids of the things that they might create or the projects they might do together, the relationship that they might build, just because I said it's just too much. Here's a screen. It's not worth it. Now, do I do it? Yeah, it happens. Nobody's perfect. But I regret it probably 99% of the time when I do. So over the summer, combating those things, it was typically when they just decided to fight and I was unprepared mentally to go through it. I think a lot of the times, especially when our children are young, we have to have the mindset to just continue to push through and be okay with the fact that it's going to be hard. It's like, do you know the book, Going on a Bear Hunt?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you can't go over it, you can't
Yeah.
go under it, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
You have to go through it, and that's part of the adventure.
Yeah.
There's really no other way around this hardship and the boredom and the whining and the fighting. Like you just gotta go through it, and you gotta go through it with them. It takes a lot of hand holding, but without that, it elongates the whole thing. And I sometimes I try to put myself in like future self. Is it worth walking them through this and putting aside the dishes, putting aside the laundry, putting aside whatever it is that I want to do? Is my task so important that I can't help my kid regulate through this because this is affecting who he becomes, who she becomes in the future? And I want to raise really good, strong, disciplined children that are respectful and respected. And this is all a part of that.
It's such a good point about like thinking about your future self and what, is your task more important than that? Because we all get caught up in I just need to get this done. I just need to get the dishes done, right? But at long term end game is, are the dishes more important than helping your kid learn how to self-regulate, right? Versus just, okay, just take the screen. Just take the screen. And it's regulation, but it's not self-regulation. That's not a long-term solution either. So such a great point there. Did You shared on your own Instagram page about the changes, the noticeable changes? We've talked kind of through some of them. Are there any more that you want to highlight specifically, the changes that you were like, wow?
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest change was probably our relationships within our home.
Mm,
All became a lot more aware of ourselves and each other and better connections. I think we solved more problems together. We looked for more things that we could do together instead of retreating to get some quiet time alone because we'd had overstimulation from screens. We were doing more puzzles together. We were doing more games together. We were cooking together more. We were creating together more. And one of the biggest changes was really my husband and I realizing how much screen usage we had in front of them and what were we living the example we were trying to teach them?
mm. How are you? Because that's a good point for parents. It is just the modeling piece, and you became really self-aware. What do you do? I mean, because your life in part is on Instagram, right? Or on the internet, or like doing various things. Your husband as well with his advertising and everything. How do you help your kids see the balance, see that you're not, you know what I mean? Like, how do you navigate through that?
It's all a choice. It's a decision to navigate through all of those things. I said no to projects I might have wanted to do but weren't necessary. Can
Mm,
you do this collaboration? No, it's not the season for it. Can you do this project? No, it's not the season for that. This is a short season where I'm raising my kids and I have the opportunity to make those calls. I know that's not the case for everyone, and some people really need the income that maybe screens help provide. I am fully supportive of that. I asked my husband to stop bringing work home. A little bit of that is out of his control, but I would say I would rather you stay an extra 30 minutes to an hour at the office if you need to really feel like you have this wrapped up so when you're here, you're present.
mm, mhm,
And that's, it's his work is very interesting. So it's not always the case. Sometimes he has to step away, but he's very intentional about that now. He
mhm,
will retreat to a different room and tell us like, "Hey, dad needs 20 minutes. This came up." And he'll go handle that and leave it and come back.
mhm.
Um, we have stopped using our phones for so much documentation of, it's this habit. We live in this social media world, this Pinterest world where you think you have to have photos of everything. And I look
Yes.
and I'm there's like, there's a lot of pictures of me as a kid, but by the time my parents had their third kid, it's like, where is he? Where are the pictures of him? But we
Non-existent.
didn't, we didn't have phones out all the time. I remember when we had like my parents got their first camcorder and we still have like two family videos ever. And those
Mhm,
are so treasured. And I started thinking about that. It's like less is more
mhm,
and
mhm.
making those things more intentional. I actually changed a lot of how I was posting. If I was posting, I took a lot more breaks. And instead of doing reels, because those felt very burdensome to me, finding the trending audio and putting all the captions in, and then Instagram deletes half of it. And
Mhm,
all,
mhm,
working through that, I was like, I have beautiful photos and I enjoy that. That is peaceful. It's easy. I like writing. If I want to, I will post a photo or series of photos and a caption that is encouraging to other people. But I would always ask myself, am I posting for me because it's a dopamine hit for me, or am I posting because it can help someone else? Not perfect, but I try to keep that mindset. and ask myself those questions before hitting post on anything. And really, before getting on my phone, we try to ask ourselves, are we picking this up for entertainment, to be consumers, or to be producers?
Mm,
Because our family needs us.
mhm,
The people on Instagram don't need me. I am so thankful for the connections. Like you and I connected because of
mhm,
this.
mhm,
But my family always needs me first.
mhm,
So if
mhm,
there's time for those things, there's time for those things. And I quickly realized there were hours, days, weeks that would go by where I didn't touch it and it didn't matter.
mhm, mhm. Those are such powerful questions too, that are just like what you're saying here, like just questioning it, pausing, which is something that I strongly believe in, pausing to ask yourself those questions, who am I posting for? Who is this for? Like, and the other, the other questions you provided, because then it makes you step back and go, is this necessary? Is it? And you're like, no, most of the time it wasn't. Like most of the time it wasn't. So summer's over and you brought back some screens. How did that look? How did that look after summer?
Actually, I love telling this story because the way they came back was something it was not my plan at all. And I love when our plans are, they never work out the way that we thought they were going to be, but they're better.
Yeah.
So we were actually on a trip in Tennessee. My parents were with us, and Blake and I were going out. They were going to watch the kids for us that night, and it was just really, really unreasonably and kind of different type of heat. It was so sticky and hot and humid, and the kids had been in the indoor pool because it was just too hot outside. They were done. And my mom, who has been the biggest supporter of this since day one, said, "Hey, it's been 60 days. What if we're in a hotel? Let's get them room service. Let's watch a movie in bed with them tonight. They get to snuggle up under the big fluffy white covers, and we'll get something like something old from the 90s or something. And we'll just make a thing of it. We'll make a really big deal of it." And so they ordered chicken fingers and French fries and pizza, and they got in their, all of them got in their jammies, and they watched Fly Away Home with
Oh,
Anna Paquin from the 90s. Oh, I love that movie.
yeah.
And my daughter, who's a big animal lover, was like, it was heaven on earth for her. And they did so well. They got to, and I wasn't even there for it. I thought like, oh, I'll be there, like their first steps. I'll be there for their first, but it was better because it was with their grandparents and it was just this really special shared memory. Then they'll never forget that. This was last summer and they are like, remember when we were with Pops and MJ and we watched a movie and we ordered room service at the hotel and they loved it. And when it was over, it was over. They turned it off and there were no problems. I don't have documentation immediately after that. And sometimes my brain just blacks out on moments. I'm sure most moms can relate.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't remember when they came back again after that, but I believe that was it again for a while, maybe a week or two. And then we started reintroducing, as the weather started cooling down, we started reintroducing family movie nights.
Mhm,
And it kind of became a special thing from there.
mhm. Yeah, and you're hitting on like I talk a lot about having like a screen plan, right? Having a screen plan that you and your family are going to follow, which is what you guys essentially did. You were like, okay, here's how we're going to move forward, and then and then reevaluating it because sometimes things change. So you went screen free essentially, and then you're like, okay, we're going to reevaluate and have these movie nights, which there's all kinds of screens and some are not as bad as others, right? Like the family movie night, you're still getting that connection. You're all together. It's a connective moment. You're watching the same thing versus passively scrolling on some device or being in an individualized world. Everybody, it's like when I go out to breakfast or something and I notice everybody at the tables on their own screen. And I'm like, what's happening here? This is a connective moment. So you bring up some really good points there. Knowing that now I would say you probably live more of a screen minimalism life. Would you agree? Is that the,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
with the balance happening? What are screen experiences today that you embrace more versus avoid?
Oh, that's a great question. So embracing versus avoiding. Let me address the avoiding part first. It's a little easier. We avoid excessive time use. We also, as far as types of technology, we avoid video games.
Mm-hmm,
That is something I'm not ready to introduce to my kids, and phones.
mm-hmm,
They rarely even touch my phone or my husband's unless they're changing songs or something like that.
mm-hmm.
But I've just seen too many things from video games, which is a whole nother topic. And I like to have those conversations probably one-on-one with people because that can ruffle a lot of feathers. There's just stuff out there that they have too easy access to through today's games. It's not the, Duke Nukem of our past or the Rock Band whenever that originally came out.
Mario Brothers hitting the
Mario Brothers, yes, yes, Donkey Kong.
yeah.
Um, but even though those are like nostalgic to you and me, if we think back to it, those were addicting as well. We always had a
Sure.
time limit. And, these were back in the days of dial-up. So you definitely had a time limit because, we're paying for all of these. But we, I remember my parents having very hard conversations on you're going to want to go to that next level. There's no off button.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to figure out, oh, okay, you beat all the levels, but there's all these little hidden secrets in each one. And now you want to go back and you want to do it better. And so you're on it longer and then more and more and more. And then there's a new game that comes out. There's always more. So anything that can create a desire for them to want or need or feel like they can't regulate without it, I am not in favor of, especially in our situation. So we still don't have a TV in our house. We do have an iPad. I like that I can just put that away or say
Mm-hmm.
it's a fix-it shop for whatever reason that works. Um, and have more control over the amount of time that they do have on it.
Mm-hmm.
Some things, now we homeschool, so there are things that I discovered these types of educational platforms that are on the iPad are actually, these apps are not serving us. So I switched our math, for example, even though it was a great math program, we were having problems with her wanting more and more and more and it wasn't healthy. So we do math a different way now. So I think it comes down to what are the apps, what is the technology you're using, and for us, it's going to look different than another family. But I'm learning every single day, like this worked and this didn't. It's a lot of try, fail, adjust, having grace with yourself, and really having the mindset that there is no such thing as perfection, but we're all going to try our best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you're also then modeling that for your own children, right? The try, fail, adjust, the this worked, and then having that conversation of like, okay, we're going to try something else because that's not working right. That's not working right for us and what we want in our family and what we're trying to accomplish. And that's powerful in and of itself. Do you have other advice you would give to parents about balancing screens or minimizing them or anything?
Yeah, I think that the advice that I would give, I thought a lot about this because it's definitely one of the questions I got a lot of over the summer as well, is where to start, what to do, what kind of activities were you doing? And I appreciate those questions, but I felt overwhelmed getting those questions because I am a very organized type of person that likes a plan. And I'm like, oh, now I need to come up with a plan for everyone else. And no, I don't. And
Yeah.
no, I can't. And that's part of I don't know if some people ask that question out of just pure curiosity and wanting to have a conversation, or if they're literally saying, help me figure out what I'm supposed to do every day. It's probably both. But I would say you have to just jump in, know yourself. Know yourself and what type of personality you have. Me being really organized and being a planner, I needed to have an idea of not only what are we doing the next day, but if it goes south, because it probably will at some point, how am I going to handle that? What type of behaviors can I try to predict and try to have a plan for? What type of activities are working? What isn't? And I love Minimalist Moms podcast as well. Diane's a good friend, and she has been very influential in my life as far as helping me to reduce things in our home. And I do think that if you were going to prepare, and no matter what your personality is, I think if you're going to prepare for a successful screen-free time, reducing chaos in your home is going to help.
Mhm.
Now, some people can overanalyze that to death and then never get started. We all have that friend or coworker that like they're always planning and planning and planning and organizing and then never executing. You
Mhm.
can't be that. It won't work. You have to execute. But if you can reduce mess, which sometimes means just taking a pile of toys, throwing them in a box, not organizing and labeling every single one because we don't have time for that,
Yeah.
but just removing them from sight so that tomorrow there's one less pile of toys that you have to clean up. I promise you, your kids probably won't even notice it's gone.
Mhm.
And it's one less thing you have to deal with while you're kind of figuring things out. So I would try to have an activity or two laid out for them in the morning while we were getting started and they were figuring out how to come up with their own creative ideas. A puzzle, art. My kids love to draw. So our dining room table became the drawing table. Every night, new paper, markers, ready to go. And they would attack that in the morning and it would get their brains going. It would help regulate them. They might go to a puzzle or go outside after that. And it would give me time and space to maybe collect myself, get a second cup of coffee, and then figure out what's next from here. But don't over prepare, don't overthink would be my advice, but have some sort of plan in place because you don't want to be caught with like just feeling so overwhelmed that you then overreact.
Mhm.
That does not serve anyone.
Mhm. You're giving when my background is in education, and that's something that they always taught educators. I don't know if they still do now because I'm not teaching in the university or anything anymore, but is that your classroom will run smoothly when you prepare for it, right? And your class, like your classroom, your home, it's the same thing. But in the same respect, you can't be rigid and have all of every little move planned out, right? Because then when it goes awry, you're also not planned for that because you're like, I planned for everything. No, you haven't, right? So like your advice here, it's just life advice too. The plan for it. No, something's probably going to go awry. Do you have a backup if it does? The backup may not serve you well. Okay, now what, right? Um but planning for it takes a lot of that the chaos. I think the chaos, what you're talking about, takes the chaos out. When you have your kids love art, you said, and so you set that up, not a hard setup. That's putting out paper or marker, but you set that up, it starts their morning calm, and then your morning also starts calm. So you're not already in like chaos mode. Um, yeah, that's such a good tip. Life tip. I'm labeling that a life tip.
The only other thing that I would add to that too is
Mhm.
be careful who you tell you are doing this because
Mm,
like anything in life, there's going to be people that support you and people that don't.
yes.
I was very blessed that we are very blessed to have a community that was very supportive of this. So it was easy for me to share on social media or to tell people what we were doing, and we had support. I have friends who approached me during all of this and said, "Hey, we're doing this too, and we're getting nothing but pushback, and people are judging us, and I feel like we can't talk about it." And it's already stressful enough to go through something like this, and you know that it's all for the best. You don't need extra stress or negativity or drama poured on that from outside sources when you know what's best in your own home. And so I would just say, know your circle and who you can talk to. And if it's wise to share on social media and that's your thing, fine. But if you can avoid that, then just take that off your plate too. Whatever you can do to simplify and support when you're going through transition, it's the same for a job transition or anything else big in life. You got to find the people that support you in that. And then if you can find other families that are doing it too, hold hands together and do it together.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great tip right there. And valuable too. It's like, okay, your family, your values, who in your community and circle supports that, to help uplift instead of push you down, because it is a lot. It is a lot to there's a lot going on in order to accomplish this. But it's worth it long term too, right? Like, yeah. Um, is there anything else from your screen-free journey that you would like to make sure people know about? Anything we didn't touch on?
I think my last thing that I would add is just if this is on your mind and you feel like you're putting it off, stop putting it off and just
Mhm,
jump in.
mhm,
And you provide so many great resources through your podcast and through all of your social media posts that are encouraging and different activities and ideas to do. So if someone is feeling stuck, those resources are there. But I just think we overthink things so much.
mhm.
And sometimes you just got to jump in and go. Not regret it. I never want to look back and say, gosh, I wish we spent more time on screens.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to say that. We're going to be like my babies. I wish I could hold my babies again. I wish I could ride bikes with them again. I wish, I wish, I wish.
Mhm,
And never, I can't imagine ever thinking, I wish we watched more movies together.
mhm, mhm, mhm. No, it's going to be all the other moments. It's going to be your playborhood that
Yes.
that created and brought kids together. Will you bring back the playborhood for this summer?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm already working on it. I'm working yeah. It's already in motion. We're getting some warmer days, so it's in preparation phase right now. And yeah, my kids better talk about this when they're older because I worked hard.
I'm
And
sure.
if they don't, I'm gonna remind them, do you remember? I
Do you
sat
remember I set up playborhood like year after year after year? Oh, that'll be awesome. If they don't, I don't know how they won't, because those are the moments that stick, right? Those are the moments that end up creating that foundation. Those are the inside out moments, the
yes,
core
yes.
memories. I was like losing my mind trying to think of the word, but um yeah,
I
you gotta.
think people overthink a lot of things too, like, oh, I've got to have this, or I've got to buy that, or I've got to do this and make it all look nice.
Mhm,
No, you don't. Do it messy. Do
mhm.
it messy. You don't have to spend any money.
Yep.
I would love to build my kids a mud kitchen, but
Mhm.
honestly, right now, their favorite place is this weird little dirt hill, and they've created a village of toys in it, and it's great.
Yes,
Nothing I could do to actually make it better, but in my mind, I could make it prettier, but they don't care.
they don't. They don't. And they're probably more creative because there isn't that aesthetic aspect to it, right? Like, I don't know, just my own little personal thought there.
Completely. Yes.
Okay, Chelsea. Well, you have a whole other side to you too. You have a whole bunch of other stuff that you do. So why don't you share a little bit about that before we go today?
Thank you. Yes. So the other side of me is because of my daughter's diagnosis, my friend Amber and I started an organization called Lemon Cake. We say when life hands you lemons, make cake, because when you're raising a child with disabilities, which is our case, you need cake. Lemonade's just not going to cut it.
Mhm.
So we have a website with resources, a book that we just released, and we've been on many different podcasts. You can hear us talking about different ways that we have experienced raising children with disabilities. We do speaking events, but our big thing right now is creating a local environment. We're in Columbus, Ohio. So if you're listening to this and you're in Columbus and you're a mom of a kid with disabilities, please find me, because we do local coffee meetups where we zero agenda, just help moms connect with each other and laugh and drink a hot cup of coffee start to finish, which is such a luxury. And we just, our whole thing, our whole mission is just to help people find joy in the journey. Motherhood is hard enough as it is, and we just want to be there for people. So if you're not in Columbus, you can still follow us on Instagram, grab our book, and support yourselves that way. And we'd love to connect. So yeah, but thank
So,
you for letting me share.
yeah, how do they follow you on Instagram? Where can they find you?
They can find me personally at Chelsea Kuhn on Instagram, ChelseaKuhn, and then making lemon cake online, or making lemon cake on Instagram as well.
Okay, if they want to follow that disability advocacy journey. connection moment too. Awesome. So is there anything else before we leave today?
Oh, and it's just been such a joy talking to you. I feel like we've become friends
I know.
online of all places, ironically, over the last couple of months. And I do think that it's really encouraging to see so many other moms out there taking steps in this direction.
Mhm.
And we need each other. It's really cool. I think that even if people in your immediate community, come at you with judgment for doing something like this, or you just feel alone in it or lost in creativity, there's so many resources out there. And this has just been so fun to chat. And you've got a wealth of resources that you've provided as well. And I just encourage people to go check it out.
Well, thank you, Chelsea. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story. I know that people are going to connect with it and take pieces from it. And hopefully, if they haven't started, start their own journey and just start, right? Like that's what you said it over and over. Just start. Thanks so much for joining us today. Here's to creating more moments that stick. Bye, friends.